Jimin has gone silent. Why is he no longer responding to Jungkook and the others? ARMY deeply worried over troubling signs within BTS in a move that has shocked even the most resilient hearts of BTS's global fandom. Jimin, known for his emotional warmth and unshakable bond with his members, has gone completely silent. No comments.
No emoji en responses.
No playful banter with Jungkook, Taehyung, RM, or Jin. Nothing. For weeks, the most affectionate voice in BTS's digital space has vanished, and the silence has only grown louder with time. Why has Jimin stopped replying to his brothers? What pain or pressure could possibly cause the heart of BTS to disconnect like this? And most importantly, is this the beginning of a fracture ARMY was never meant to witness? Jimin, who for years had been the reliable emotional anchor of the group, responding with endless heart emojis, cheeky comebacks, and heartfelt admiration under his fellow members' posts, has suddenly ceased all such activity. Not sporadically, not gradually,
Completely.
he remains active online, visibly checking posts, occasionally liking fan updates and uploading curated photos of his own. Yet, he ignores direct mentions from his groupmates, even when Jungkook jokingly tags him or RM pens a reflective caption that practically screams for acknowledgement. For a fandom that has tracked every beat of BTS's bond like clockwork, this change is neither invisible nor forgivable. The question is not just why Jimin is silent. The question is, what is he trying to hide? Longtime ARMYs have started documenting this shift with unsettling precision. Side-by-side screenshots show a clear pattern. Members reaching out, tagging Jimin, responding to his posts, or interacting among themselves, while he remains conspicuously absent from the dialogue. Even more disturbing is the emotional vacancy in Jimin's own posts. Once filled with inside jokes and affectionate jabs toward the other members, his recent captions are stripped of personality. They are clinical,
Distant.
polished to perfection but emotionally vacant. There are no mentions,
No memories.
just images, silent, curated, and cold. Is Jimin retreating? Or is he being pushed? Some speculate he is preparing for something significant, perhaps a solo endeavor so monumental it demands his complete emotional detachment. But that theory feels too calculated for a man like Jimin, whose love for the group has always bled into every public expression. Others fear something darker, a personal struggle, a sense of alienation, or worse, the weight of a secret that cannot be shared without altering BTS's public image forever. These aren't wild accusations. They are educated guesses rooted in Jimin's past. This isn't the first time he's hidden his struggles until the damage was irreversible. Every time RM posts a philosophical thought, every time V uploads a photo with nostalgic filters, every time Jungkook sends a teasing comment meant only for him, the silence from Jimin stings sharper. His absence from these familiar dynamics isn't just a missing voice. It's a rupture in the foundation of BTS's public brotherhood. Fans have started refreshing his profile like clockwork, waiting, praying for a sign. A word.
An emoji.
Anything. They find none. This isn't an error in scheduling or the result of being too busy. Jimin is online. He sees everything. He simply chooses not to respond.
Why?
What is so unbearable about interacting with the very people he once called his strength? Psychological experts observing the fan reaction have warned that such behavioral shifts often stem not from anger, but from pain. Social withdrawal, they say, is one of the clearest signals of emotional distress. And Jimin, being deeply empathetic and emotionally porous, may be trying to protect others from his suffering by staying away. Could it be guilt? Fear? A creeping feeling of being misunderstood or even replaced. When the person known for giving the most love suddenly gives nothing, it's impossible not to ask, who hurt him? And what makes it more devastating is that fans aren't the only ones noticing. The other members seem to be responding in quiet, cryptic ways. Jungkook has started liking Jimin's posts more frequently. No comments, just likes, as if trying to send a silent message. I'm still here. RM recently wrote a caption about how people who feel the most tend to speak the least. Was that a philosophical musing or a coded message to a missing friend? Even Taeyong, who usually expresses affection in over-the-top humor, has toned down his energy. A few days ago, he uploaded an old group picture, a specific memory-laden snapshot. On the exact night armies were trending, talk to them, Jimin worldwide. Coincidence? Or a subtle attempt to say what no one dares to declare out loud? There's a rising discomfort that no official statement can soothe. Because this isn't about performance schedules or upcoming releases. This is about the visible absence of intimacy in a group that built its empire on brotherhood. Fans are not demanding explanations. They are asking with genuine fear if Jimin is okay, and they have reason to worry. Years ago, when he confessed to having hidden his emotional breakdowns to protect the others, he had said, "I didn't want anyone to worry, so I smiled." Is that what he's doing again? Smiling in pictures while withdrawing from the people he loves most. Screenshots don't lie. In a fandom where every digital footprint is sacred, the missing comments, the absence of tags, and the cold silence under familiar names scream louder than words ever could. And perhaps the most telling detail of all is not what Jimin says, but what he no longer does. He no longer plays, no longer teases, no longer responds, not even when his brothers reach out in full view of millions. Theories now spiral in every direction. Some fear he is preparing emotionally for a farewell. Some believe he's distancing himself due to guilt over a decision already made. Some wonder if the internal group dynamic has changed in ways no one is ready to admit. What if this isn't about a solo project at all, but about the group itself? The possibility that BTS could be emotionally fragmented, even temporarily, is unbearable to fans who have clung to their unity as the group's most unbreakable asset. But emotions don't lie, and silence can be more telling than words. Especially when that silence is coming from the one member who used to speak the most through gestures of love. Fans are left to decipher the signs. A lyric posted by Jimin that feels too personal. A picture with a caption too vague. An absence from a birthday post that should have been automatic. They gather these clues, not to accuse, but to understand. Because the alternative, to assume that nothing is wrong, feels like denial. And denial is a dangerous thing when the stakes are emotional collapse. A viral fan thread now collects all the moments that could be goodbye signals. Is Jimin pulling away so that the break hurts less when it finally comes? Is he protecting the members from watching him crumble? Or has something already happened? Something irreparable? There's an especially chilling moment from a recent event. Cameras caught Jimin backstage, alone, looking at his phone, blinking back tears. That footage, now dissected frame by frame, has become symbolic. Not because of what it shows, but because of what it doesn't. No one approached him. No one comforted him. Was that moment the beginning of his silence? Until now, no member has publicly addressed the growing distance. No live streams. No fan mentions. Just eerie quietness. Perhaps out of respect. Perhaps out of confusion. Perhaps out of fear that if they speak it into existence, it becomes real. What happens when the emotional glue of a group begins to peel away? Fans who once laughed at Jimin's sassy replies now feel their hearts drop every time his name appears without interaction. Every ignored tag feels like a missed heartbeat. Every silence is deafening. And still, he does nothing to he is not missing. He is not gone. He is just quiet. And in the world of BTS, where every silence has a meaning, this one feels like a storm gathering behind the scenes. An emotional hurricane. A reckoning none of them saw coming. If Jimin is hurting, why hasn't anyone stepped in? If he's protecting someone, why does it look so much like he's fading away? Is this temporary? Is this a signal? Or worse, is this the start of the end? As the days stretch into weeks, and the weeks press against what feels like a breaking point, one question grows louder than the rest. What is happening to Jimin? And why won't he talk to them anymore? Until that answer comes, the silence will only grow heavier. And ARMY, once comforted by his love, now refresh notifications with dread instead of excitement, wondering not if something is wrong, but just how long it's been. Sometimes the loudest cries for help are the ones that make no sound at all. Is Jimin's silence real or manufactured? A call for critical reflection in the face of emotional turmoil the world has been watching. Refreshing, speculating, decoding. But now the time has come for deeper reflection. Is this truly happening? Or are we being led into a carefully constructed narrative meant to manipulate emotional investment and media attention? The absence of Jimin's voice, long considered the emotional compass of BTS, has sparked more than just concern. It has exposed the uncomfortable fragility of parasocial intimacy, media sensationalism, and the fandom's unrelenting hunger for meaning behind every digital move. Yet in this deafening silence, another question must pierce the collective consciousness. Are we confronting a painful truth? Or are we consuming a fabrication disguised as emotional crisis? To be clear, the information that has fueled this growing firestorm originates from a wide range of sources. Social media platforms like TikTok, YouTube videos with millions of views, Twitter threads filled with emotional analysis, and scattered visual cues collected from live streams, concerts, and behind-the-scenes footage. Each fragment, no matter how minor, has been examined with surgical precision, forming a narrative that feels compelling, even urgent. But is compelling evidence the same as truthful evidence? This article does not seek to confirm or deny Jimin's emotional state. It does not offer a definitive answer to the swirling speculation that he has chosen silence as a response to internal conflict or future separation. Instead, it demands something far more vital: your skepticism, your reflection, your refusal to be a passive recipient of viral narratives. Has the digital culture of virality blurred the lines between reality and perception? This phenomenon of Jimin's sudden non-responsiveness to BTS members could indeed signal an underlying shift in group dynamics, personal well-being, or emotional exhaustion. But could it also be an amplified illusion, constructed through selective observation and emotionally charged interpretation? When silence becomes the story, who controls its meaning? It is imperative to understand that the modern fan ecosystem operates in an environment where content consumption has evolved into content construction. Fans no longer merely react to official statements or performances. They build meaning out of silence, they extract conclusions from omissions, and they define relationships through public interaction, or the lack thereof. In such a landscape, where emotion often overshadows evidence, how do we separate fact from fiction? Are we, perhaps, participating in a narrative that was never meant to exist? Consider the following. Every screenshot being shared, every frame paused and analyzed, every caption interpreted, is it truly indicative of Jimin's inner state, or is it a projection of our own emotional expectations? Have we become so dependent on digital affection as proof of harmony that its absence now equates to disaster? Are we misreading natural emotional shifts as warning signs simply because they deviate from the scripted patterns we are accustomed to? Furthermore, we must ask, if this truly were a strategic silence, perhaps orchestrated in anticipation of a major announcement or a temporary withdrawal for mental clarity, what right do we have to invade it with our assumptions? The core of this discourse is not about Jimin alone. It is about the culture that surrounds him. A culture that increasingly treats human emotion as entertainment. A culture that weaponizes silence, that sensationalizes distance, that spins the absence of a comment into a sign of betrayal, depression, or division. Are we engaging with the truth? Or are we feeding an insatiable machine of emotional speculation? We must not ignore the very real possibility that this entire narrative, while emotionally compelling, is built on circumstantial evidence, algorithms, and speculation. It may be no more factual than a fanfiction post. If so, why does it feel so real? Because emotional manipulation, intentional or not, is powerful. Because in the absence of clarity, our minds fill in the blanks with our fears, our hopes, and our biases, Do we truly believe Jimin has emotionally withdrawn from the other BTS members? Or are we, collectively, interpreting his digital silence through a lens of parasocial dependency, driven by the need for continual reassurance that nothing is changing? What if he is simply resting? What if he is preserving his energy, focusing on private matters, or emotionally recalibrating after years of relentless public performance? And what if the group, aware of this shift, has chosen to give him space, not because of a fracture, but out of respect? Can we accept that possibility without demanding public proof of affection? Or are we so conditioned by visibility and interaction that any break in the pattern feels like betrayal? These questions are not rhetorical. They are essential, because if we fail to ask them, we allow ourselves to be manipulated by the echo chamber of fandom discourse and content-hungry media outlets. We accept speculation as journalism. We let narratives rooted in emotion pass for verified fact. We lose the ability to question what we consume, that as this situation evolves or perhaps fades into silence. It is critical that we, as observers, remain grounded in critical thinking. It is easy to become overwhelmed by the emotional weight of what this might mean. But meaning is not truth. Not always. Has BTS said anything directly about this? No. Has Jimin confirmed or denied any shift in relationship with his members? No. Have we received any objective evidence that his silence signifies internal crisis? No. So why do we believe that we have the right to act as though we know the truth? Social media gives the illusion of access. But illusion is not intimacy. Fans are not owed a full understanding of every emotional fluctuation. Public figures, no matter how beloved, are not required to maintain a constant performance of friendship to satisfy the expectations of their audience. Those feeling hurt, anxious, or confused by Jimin's current detachment from BTS's digital interactions, your feelings are valid. But so too is the need to ground those feelings in reality, not in fear, not in fantasy, not in frenzy. Those insisting this must be a precursor to an official split. What evidence do you truly have? To those claiming this is a desperate cry for help. What if your interpretation is wrong? And to those who believe this is a manufactured media stunt, ask yourself, who benefits? Are the media platforms profiting from increased engagement? Are content creators monetizing your concern? Are you being used to sustain a narrative designed to exploit emotional vulnerability? The truth at this point is still unknown. What we do know is this: speculation without verification is not truth. It is noise. And in this era of emotional spectacle, we must become more than emotional consumers. We must become ethical participants. We must evaluate what we share, what we believe, and why we feel so compelled to assign meaning to moments that may, in truth, mean nothing at all. What if Jimin speaks tomorrow and everything returns to normal? Will we erase our theories, our panic, our projections? Or will we finally recognize that emotional detachment from a public figure does not automatically equate to breakdown? Perhaps the more important question is this: why did we believe so strongly that it did? As readers, as fans, as critical thinkers, you must now ask yourselves, do you trust this narrative? Do you believe it is entirely organic? Or has your emotional investment made you vulnerable to manipulation? This article, like the many that have come before it, draws upon digital evidence that is emotionally suggestive, but factually inconclusive. It is a reflection of a collective anxiety, a cultural moment driven not by confirmation, but by connection. And so, we leave you with this: be alert, be reflective, be skeptical. Above all, be human, because until Jimin speaks, everything remains interpretation. And interpretation, no matter how emotionally charged, is not the same as truth.